Okay, let's talk about some forehand fundamentals. The first thing we're going to talk about is grip. I would recommend choosing either a semi-Western grip or an Eastern grip because that gives you the most versatility around the court. Um, Now, a good forehand starts in a ready position. So you want to be wide in your base. You want to have your hands out in front. You can see I have space between my body and my elbows here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get into my grip. I have a semi-Western grip, so that's the grip that I'm using. You can also use an Eastern grip, or there are other grips to use. But the first part of this is the unit turn, and you'll see I'm going to make a turn with my whole upper body. And you can see that in the second camera here where my hand is still on the racket. I haven't let the left hand or the offhand go. It's a real common mistake that players will let their offhand go and then they'll open up early and their swing will get too big. So by keeping two hands on the racket, I'm storing energy in my core. This is helping to make sure that my shoulders are turned further than my hips. So I'm storing some energy in my core and then I'm controlling the size of my backswing. I recommend having your offhand high on the throat where you can manipulate the racket. It makes that a lot easier. You can also control the racket face by where you hold that left hand. Now, separation happens around the bounce of the ball. Depending on the ball speed and the depth of the ball, determines how big your backswing will be. But as I take the racket back and I separate around the bounce of the ball, you can see that I have a pretty short take back. I'm not taking the racket back insanely high. I'm not taking it behind my body. I'm keeping the racket on the hitting side. And this shortens the length of travel from the backswing to the contact, which is something that a lot of players struggle with. And often you'll see that players will retreat in court position just to be able to fit a big backswing in. And there's a saying in tennis, they say that pro players will sacrifice their backswing for their contact point, and amateur players will sacrifice their contact point for their backswing. So you want to make sure that your backswing and your unit turn is controlled with your offhand. Second thing after you release is the racket drop. I'm dropping strings down. If you're an Eastern grip and a semi-Western grip, the palm is going to guide that racket face. And you can see I drop it palm down. Once I get to the bottom of my swing, I'm going to pull my hand towards the ball. And when I pull my hand towards the ball, the racket will flip back. Notice that the strings are still facing the ground. And then my racket is on the way up. Because I've dropped into the bottom of my swing, my hand is low, my racket face is facing down, and that's going to help me get topspin. And then I'm swinging up to the ball. Very helpful cue on a forehand is making sure you're swinging up to the ball. Now, my offhand also has a role to play at contact. That hand has to be tucked at my body, and that acts as a reactive brake. It allows my right side to accelerate out to the ball and to brace my left side. So after I release with the left hand and I drop my racket down, as I pull that racket out to the ball and make contact in front of me, this offhand breaks against my body and braces me, and the right side continues. Another really helpful tip on the forehand is to catch the finish. You can see my racket is headed up to my left shoulder here. You don't have to catch it. A lot of players finish here or here, but a very helpful one if you're not used to doing this is actually catch the racket. It gets the swing path headed up towards the right direction, and it also gets the left side of your body out of your own way. One more thing with contact point on a forehand is players really should isolate where they need to hit the ball. Out in front of you, about 45 degrees, a great forehand cue is to see the ball through the back of the strings. So when I ask players to show me where their perfect contact point is, they'll often show here or here, and they really don't have a good idea for exactly where they want to hit it. That's critical. You want to understand that the ball is out in front, and you can see right here on a contact point on my forehand, I could see the ball potentially through the strings, through the back of the strings. So that's really important, but making sure that you know your grip, your unit turn, you know how to drop the racket under the ball, and you get contact right, and you're also using your offhand well is really important. And they're all fundamentals to a good forehand. A lot of players have different styles, but all of the fundamentals are the same. One thing as well, in terms of wrist position and wrist mobility, a lot of players will be very wristy coming through their forehand. But coming through contact, you must have a fixed or a neutral wrist position. Stability through the hit is the most important thing. So you'll see players like Francis Tiafoe might have a bend in the wrist through here. They'll drop into a fixed position. They'll be stable through contact, and then the wrist will release. So I'm not saying have a death grip on the racket. You can be loose, you can be relaxed, but you want to be fixed through the contact and have stability through contact so you can control the ball and then you can release. I talked earlier about court position and height and angle. And these things can be determined by spin often. And when you're trying to get more spin on your forehand or your backhand, one of the things people struggle with the most is getting under the ball. So there are two critical elements to getting topspin. One is that you drop the racket strings down, and the second one is that you swing up to the ball. If you do those two things, as you make contact with the ball, the strings line up to the target. The strings have to tell the ball where to go. And then that swing is an angular swing path, which creates the spin. So contact point, strings are pointing straight to the target, but the swing angle is on its way up, and that's what creates the spin. So a lot of people try and get to the ball and create the spin there, but all of the hard work needs to be done before contact so you can create more spin and control the ball more, and that will allow you to arc the ball if you need it, to bend the ball for angle if you need to, but understanding that you have to get under the ball and you have to make sure the racket face is closed are two critical elements to a good topspin forehand.